The DeSantis administration is using tax dollars to try to defeat two proposed amendments that appear on the November 5th ballot. They are Amendments 3 and 4.
Amendment 3 would legalize recreational marijuana for adults 21 years and older and allow individuals to possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana. Amendment 4 would legalize abortion until viability. Florida law defines viability as the stage of fetal development when the life of a fetus is sustainable outside the womb through standard medical procedures. The DeSantis administration is using state tax dollars to oppose both amendments. It has threatened TV stations that run pro-Amendment 4 ads with criminal charges and sent state workers to anti-Amendment 4 campaign events. So far, the courts, including the Florida Supreme Court, have declined to hear challenges over the use of tax money to advocate for one side. Here's one campaign ad paid for by the state, which is running on TV stations around Florida.
Florida cares about women and families. Last year, Florida provided nearly $500 million to support pregnant women and their families. No woman can go to jail for having an abortion, and abortions are available before a child's heartbeat is detected, and in cases of rape or incest, and at all points in pregnancy to save the life and health of the mother. For accurate information about all your options, visit our website, because Florida cares.
Christina, is that ad true? And what do you think of the state using money to take a side on an election issue?
Floridians should be livid that their taxpayer money is going towards these no campaigns on Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. As early of this morning, it looks like about $20 million in taxpayer funds has been used to fight these two amendments that actually show, polling-wise, look like they may pass, and so they're very popular. It seems like at every step of the way, the governor and the legislature have done everything they can to fight these amendments, but using taxpayer money to fight these is wildly inappropriate, and Floridians should just be livid that this is happening.
Adam, what did you think of the ad, and what did you think of using taxpayer money? Is it right to use taxpayer money to campaign for an amendment?
Well, I have two answers to that. One is there's always a lot of discussion about the use of taxpayer dollars for any kind of ad, PSA or otherwise, by any public official during campaign season in particular, right? That's always been something that's been highly discussed, debated, controversial, et cetera. I personally am not comfortable, as Christina just voiced, about taxpayer dollars going into what seems more clearly to be a campaign-oriented objective. You can argue on the side of those who are behind those that they're doing this to try to make sure that information is out there. You could argue against that. This is an inappropriate use of taxpayer dollars. These are two amendments, though, Rob, that are going to define in a way, not just the way that the country looks at Florida, but also the way the Floridians look at themselves. And I think that's an even bigger topic. And these are two issues that are not without great emotion and great debates. And we've come a long way in the state that not long ago, as you recall, put on as an amendment into the Constitution a ban on same-sex marriage. That was back in the 90s, and it passed pretty comfortably. And now, not all that long later, this state has really evolved. And I think the both referendums are going to be kind of a Exhibit A and Exhibit B in 2024 of just where the state of Florida is and where they're moving.
Mary Ellen, I'm wondering about groups like the ACLU have filed a lawsuit against the state paying for these ads. And I'm wondering, what do we know about the legality of the state using money to campaign against amendments? Is it legal? And talk about historically, has it been done before?
Well, it comes down to a pretty basic question, and that is, when U.S. District Judge Mark Walker yesterday, sent his ruling, wrote his ruling, released it, and he used some very basic rules. He basically said, to keep it simple for the state of Florida, it's the First Amendment, stupid. Now, he put a temporary restraining order on the DeSantis administration's brazen attempt to use taxpayer money to defeat an amendment. This is, definitely illegal. It violates the First Amendment. So we don't even have to get into whether it, violates our comfort with having taxpayer money spent in a way we don't agree with. And the other thing that I think is worth pointing out here is, what always happens when Republicans, I think, disagree with something or realize that they've been caught, is we get this whataboutism. We've got DeSantis saying, "Oh yeah, we always have tornadoes and hurricanes. We always have taxpayer money spent in a campaign." This is an order of magnitude that far exceeds anything we've ever seen, and I think it is outraging, Republicans and Democrats alike. And I think that we're going to continue to see more court action if the governor continues to persist with these things.
Mary Ellen, Republicans around the country since Roe was overturned have said, look, let's let the states decide whether or not people want to have abortion free and legal. What's your take on this governor and this Republican Party in the state of Florida working against this amendment? If they say it's up to the states to decide.
Yeah, it's just sheer hypocrisy. Donald Trump cannot be out there saying, we really just did what people wanted. We gave it back to the states. And then if you notice, the only states that are pushing back when voters decide they want to have a choice and they don't like many of these abortion bans that it's the Republican legislatures across the country and Republican governors that are filing suit, trying to undermine having the voters in these states decide. This is not representative democracy. I mean, if the governor really wants to know what his constituents in Florida believe, why doesn't he let this have an open debate, let the amendment either rise or fall on its merits, and let it be at that? Instead, he's decided he's going to try and undermine it in a really unprecedented and I think dangerous way.
So the battle over these abortion ads has become really fierce. The Florida Department of Health has sent a cease and desist letter to at least 2 Florida TV stations, telling those stations to take down an ad in favor of the amendment and threatening prosecution of those TV stations if they do not take down the ads. Let's play the ad that the state of Florida is complaining about.
When I saw the tumor on the MRI, my first thought was, am I going to be able to see my daughter again? The doctors knew if I did not end my pregnancy, I would lose my baby, I would lose my life, and my daughter would lose her mom. Florida has now banned abortion, even in cases like mine. Amendment 4 is going to protect women like me. We have to vote yes.
And this is something that Mary Ellen referred to. The federal judge, Mark Walker, temporarily barred the DeSantis administration from intimidating and coercing television stations that air that ad in support of Amendment 4, which would bar interference on abortion, but that restraining order remains in effect until only October 29th. So, Alan, what do you make of the state going after TV stations that run a pro-Amendment 4 ad?
Well, several things happening here. One, how anybody can hear a story like that and not get goosebumps and not understand that where the place of government is and where it shouldn't be, and that is in these healthcare decisions for women. This is such a fundamental. I mean, I love the judge's statement of this is simple. It's the First Amendment, stupid. I mean, she just said that quoted from the judge. This is something that is such fundamentally American way of life, and I think the taxpayers in the state of Florida should be outraged that the governor is spending this money. I think a real Republican fiscal conservative would be outraged that whether you support or you don't want the government paying for pro or anti ads for anything. That's just not the role of government. And then they've taken it one step further. They're so unhappy with this amendment on the Constitution that Ron DeSantis' election version of the SS has now proposed trying to take away the rights of Florida citizens from having these types of ballot initiatives to change the Constitution. So they're not happy enough with just taking away the rights of women to choose their health care. They want to take away the rights of the citizens of the state of Florida from petitioning government and changing the laws.
It's already hard to change the Constitution because you need 60% of the vote to get it passed.
Yeah, they made it more difficult. Now they want to make it even more difficult. And again, this is all coming from the Secret Service type of police force that Ron DeSantis set up after the elections.
Adam, going after TV stations is unusual. I mean, TV stations have aired all sorts of ads forever. To say to a TV station to stop, isn't that really unusual?
Happens all the time. So, as a media consultant, right? I can't tell you how often I've been on a campaign and the other side said something that was patently absurd, untrue, false, etc. And a letter came in from our side, from our attorney, into the TV stations and vice versa. And it was back and forth. Rarely will television stations make any moves because they don't want to, have any impact that they could be blamed for in terms of moving an election one way or the other. B, frankly, they have a profit motive of wanting to keep the ads up and running. I mean, it's interesting to see, I don't know if you saw the new policy from Google that said, we're going to continue with all political advertising until the day after the election, then we're stopping, right? As opposed to stopping now, they're going to stop after they've made all the money. In terms of what the TV station should or shouldn't do, right? Should they be the judge and jury here? Of course not. But the bigger thing here, and I hope this is the most important thing to cover about the abortion issue, not just in Florida, but elsewhere. Abortion's being used all over the country by Democrats almost exclusively to absolutely blister Republicans, whether they are pro-life, whether they're pro-choice, and they're using the word that everyone fears, and I understand why, and we all would. The word is ban. When you talk about a ban, and you hear in ads, Rob, national abortion ban, you talk about all the federal candidates that are running, there are Democrats that are hitting Republicans on being in favor of a national abortion ban, even if they're in favor of state law and supporting state law that allows up to the point of viability or even beyond. The fact that there are any limitations that are being suggested has been redefined by Democrats around the country as a national abortion ban. And I am really upset about it because what they're doing is they're scaring the hell out of people. It is a conscious, political, callous move to scare not only women, but everybody. And frankly, it's working. It's working to some extent. A lot of swing races I'm looking at and been a part of around the country, and it is wrong. But it's not the television station's role to be the arbiter here. Hopefully, the final decision maker is going to be the common sense and good taste of people.
Okay, but Adam, it's different when a private entity says to a TV station, take off that ad. When the government says to a TV station, take off that ad, that's a whole new ballgame. But let me ask Christina, do you think Adam is right? Are Democrats unnecessarily scaring Republicans, or the pro-choice people unnecessarily scaring the country and saying that Republicans want a total ban?
Well, a 6-week ban, which we have in Florida, is pretty much a near total abortion ban. I mean, most women don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks, let alone getting an appointment with a doctor within 6 weeks. So yes, in Florida, you could say there's an abortion ban here. And I agree, women are upset, spouses are upset. This is why when we see the polling on Amendment 4, it actually polls really well that the people want these decisions to be personal, and these decisions are so complex. I mean, we see it in the ads. Everybody has a different stories on why they need certain kinds of health care, and these are decisions that need to be between the spouse, the physician, their own families. We don't need politicians being involved in these decisions.
I was talking to a Republican pollster the other day who said that people whose top concern is abortion is only 12% in the state of Florida. Nationwide, it might be a little bit higher. But they say that it's the economy and inflation and those kind of issues. Those are the top concerns.
Sure. But when it comes to Amendment 4 and how people feel, whether that's a yes vote or a no vote, people want, the polling shows that Amendment 4 is likely to pass because they agree they don't want government deciding these kind of intricate decisions with health care.